As an adult, Shirley Temple, the tiny girl with curly hair and a brilliant smile who had enthralled everyone, appeared to have had the ideal existence. But beyond that radiant exterior was a lady who had suffered unimaginable emotional scars, betrayal, and the misery of marriage. Following her passing, the world was stunned to learn that the image of Hollywood's little angel was actually a facade concealing a very sinister truth when confidential FBI papers were declassified. Shirley Temple's true story is significantly more complicated and emotional than any of the films in which she has appeared. Shirley Jane Temple was born in Santa Monica, California, on April 23, 1928. Few would have predicted that a childhood of trauma, exploitation, and control lay underneath that glowing exterior. Temple was initially brought to a movie set when he was 3 years old in order to take part in a series of short films titled Baby Burlesques, 1931. In theory, this was a nice comedy show that mimicked parents. Children as young as a few years old were required to dress provocatively, play out emotional events they did not understand, and change into adult roles in Baby Burlesques. Shirley played a seductress in the Politics in Washington episode. Under the camera lights and director Charles Lamont's voice, she walked into a senator's office wearing a little bra and a necklace of pearls, swaying her hips, and kissed him on the lips. He was the one who found Temple, signed her initial contract, and forced her to endure a troubled upbringing as retribution for her reputation. The scenes that followed weren't any better. Temple reprised her role as a young girl attempting to win over troops and war babies, who were all young like her. Today's viewers would shudder at the suggestive scenes, the sweets for kisses, and the self-referential comments about being pricey. However, Hollywood referred to it as comedy at the time. On movie sets, there were no laws protecting children. When a youngster disobeyed, director Charles Lamont would punish them by placing a big block of ice within a soundproof black box, according to historian John Casson. The kids were made to sit on it in silence, shivering with fear and cold. Lamont threatened to punish them much more severely if they told their parents. At one point, Shirley Temple attempted to inform her mother. However, Gertrude Temple didn't believe her since she believed her daughter was a ticket to a better life. Gertrude had failed as a ballet dancer. She saw the second opportunity she'd missed in Shirley, who had golden locks, beautiful cheeks, and $1 million grin. From that point on, Temple was seen by her mother as a rising celebrity rather than a child. Gertrude taught her how to bow and smile, made her learn every line by heart, and curled her daughter's hair every day. Shirley quickly discovered that, despite her inner fear, everyone would be happy if she smiled at the appropriate time. Shirley Temple documented it all in her memoir, Child Star, published years later. The world found what I was doing amusing, but I was only a youngster and didn't understand. When she referred to Baby Burlesques as a blatant exploitation of our childhood, America was compelled to reconsider Hollywood's alleged golden age, when tears were used to purchase children's smiles. Her performance in the film Bright Eyes in 1934 catapulted her to worldwide renown. Shirley Temple even overthrew Clark Gable to take the top spot at the box office for 3 years in a row. However, as we shall learn, there was a stolen childhood hidden beneath that brilliant celebrity. Her radiance started to wane by the 1940s. Moviegoers were no longer drawn to new releases. 20th Century Fox abruptly terminated her contract following 2 box office failures. Most girls still played with dolls when Shirley was just 12 years old. However, she had to consider contracts, reputation, and joblessness. Later on, she relocated to MGM, a studio infamous for its rigorous rules and unrelenting filming schedules. Frequently referred to as a young star's childhood crusher, Temple encountered a nightmare she would never forget on her first day at MGM. The influential producer Arthur Freed, who launched the careers of numerous Hollywood icons, was to meet with her in private. However, the conference swiftly descended into horror. According to Shirley's story, Freed suddenly unzipped his pants and said, "I've got something special for you." The young girl was so scared and confused that all she could do was laugh awkwardly, a reaction that came from both fear and innocence. He dismissed her icily a few moments later as though nothing had occurred. It was the first emotional scar of many, not just a traumatic event. In an interview with Larry King years later, Temple acknowledged that this episode caused her to leave MGM after just one movie. Her remarks were succinct but sour. "I realized then that kids had no place in Hollywood." However, Hollywood wasn't the only danger. Outside the studios, Shirley Temple was targeted by troubled adults who pretended to be smart and famous. One of the most well-known authors of the 20th century, Graham Greene, was a British novelist. He noted the child's tidy little rump as she wriggled in her tap dance in his unsettling review of Captain January 1936. Greene went even farther in a different review of Wee Willie Winkie, referring to Temple as a complete little tart and suggesting that she was an attractive lady imprisoned in a child's body.
Hollywood was outraged by the obscene remarks. Temple and 20th Century Fox successfully sued Graham Greene for defamation. Until she turned 21, the settlement money was kept in a trust fund. However, Temple failed to maintain a cent when the time arrived. In order to create a youth center, where kids could play and study without having to give up their childhood like she did, she gave the full amount. It was an act that made Shirley Temple's true identity clear. She was gentle, respectable, and strong in a brutal Hollywood, retaining her compassion and innocence while fending against the evil. But she was still being tested by fate. As Shirley Temple became older, she had to deal with rumors so ridiculous that even she had to giggle. The assertion that Shirley Temple wasn't a child at all was one of the most pervasive, spreading throughout the US and eventually Europe. The myth said that she was a fully grown dwarf who was posing as a young child to trick both the media and viewers. The Vatican became interested in the story because it went viral. According to Temple's memoir, a Holy See delegate named Father Silvio Massante was dispatched to look into the matter. When the somber priest showed up at her house, he asked for a private meeting and asked strange questions, such when year she was born, whether she had a birth certificate, and if anyone could confirm that she was a real child. The Temple family initially believed it to be a prank, but it wasn't. The Vatican itself granted the priest official authorization. Public reaction to the announcement was a mix of surprise and laughter. In a world where deception was so prevalent that even a child's innocence might be questioned, it exposed a deep-seated skepticism of Hollywood. Temple later claimed she wasn't upset but described it as the most bizarre rumor she has ever heard. "I got it," she wrote. "People begin to question reality when they are surrounded by fantasy for an extended period of time." Father Masanti clarified that the rumor had throughout Europe, with many people believing that Temple's notoriety stemmed from her being a 30-year-old woman posing as a child. Some even offered proof. Some stated that her teeth had been filed down to appear smaller, while others asserted that she had adult teeth because none of her baby teeth ever appeared to fall out. Naturally, the reality was considerably easier. Temple said that she had lost her baby teeth, but she was able to maintain her trademark smile on screen by wearing partial dentures and caps to fill up the gaps. However, there were other mysteries that enthusiasts attempted to solve. Finding faults with her idealized portrayal of a young girl consumed many. Some fans were so suspicious that they actually attempted to pull at her curls to verify that her famously curly hair was real. According to Temple's book, she genuinely wished her well-known curls had been a wig because she found it extremely difficult to keep her natural hair in place. She had to adhere to a rigorous overnight hair regimen that included rinsing her hair with vinegar once a week in order to maintain those silky, flawless ringlets. Her eyes ached from the acid's intense pain. Shirley Temple alone prevented 20th Century Fox from going bankrupt in spite of the abuse and criticism. $115,000 of her profits were deposited into a trust fund following each movie. This amount eventually increased to $335,000. She was only permitted to spend $13 per week, though. Her parents are said to have kept the others safe. The truth was even darker in practice. Temple was the highest paid child performer in Hollywood during the height of her fame, earning up to $10,000 per week. She should have gotten almost $32 million by the time she was an adult. However, there was only $44,000 left in her bank account when she eventually viewed it. Her own father had stolen the money from the years she had smiled for America. Shirley refrained from crying. She didn't yell. "I felt neither disappointment nor anger." A short sentence, but one that cut deep, cold, and haunting. No rage, no bitterness. Only the calm strength of a woman who had already seen too many shadows behind the spotlight. But the darkness still wasn't done with her, she wrote in her memoir. Shirley met David O. Selnick, one of Hollywood's most powerful producers, when she was 17. A friend once told her, "If he's wearing silk socks, stay away," about a man who appeared sophisticated and pleasant to the public, but was actually a predator behind closed doors. Shirley looked down when Selnick attempted to take her hand and the silk socks shone. The warning became a siren in her mind, and she attempted to go, but he hit a button, locking the door. A room with a 17-year-old girl and a heavy-set man closing in. He grinned. She took a step back, writing in her memoir, "I was fortunate to escape because I was faster than he was." She escaped the room, but not the memory. Not long after, another Hollywood big shot, a man she referred to only as the Wizard, tried to do the same. When she refused, he coldly said, "We have to learn to get along. It's merely a custom at work. That may be in your contract, but it's definitely not in mine," Shirley said, looking directly into his eyes and responding fearlessly. But the tragedy didn't stop there. At 35, when everyone thought she was finally safe, Shirley was invited by famous comedian George Jessel to discuss an important role. Once the door closed, his true nature came out, and he cornered her against the wall. This time, Shirley wasn't the scared 17-year-old girl, and she fought back. That line became a silent declaration for all the women silenced by the entertainment industry. A world where glamour could never hide the stench of P's corruption. I saw pain, disgust, and hatred flash across his face. She wrote in her biography, describing how she brought him to his knees with a single strong kick that left his face twisted in agony. However, I had no sympathy. She was no longer a victim. She survived. It's commonly said that child stars don't always have happy endings, but Temple was undoubtedly an exception. She chose to become a diplomat after leaving Hollywood, refusing to let tragedy define her. In 1943, at the age of 15, Shirley Temple met John R., who would become her first husband. 2 years later, they were married, and the wedding of America's little princess enthralled the entire country. The woman, who had once been viewed as a porcelain doll, now stood before world leaders speaking of peace, dignity, and human rights. Looking back, Shirley once said a simple yet haunting line: "I never lost faith that there is still good in the world." They had one daughter, Linda Susan, and even co-starred in 2 movies together, Fort Apache and Adventure in Baltimore. In 1949, after 5 years of suffering, Agar filed for divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty, which resulted in custody of their daughter, but the emotional scars would last for years. 2 decades later, when President Richard Nixon nominated Shirley Temple as the U.S. ambassador to the UN, the FBI conducted a background investigation, and shockingly, it was her ex-husband who attempted to undermine her. R falsely claimed in his testimony that Temple was emotionally unstable and had extreme reactions when things didn't go her way. Beneath the smiling photos, however, was a quiet tragedy. Agar became an alcoholic, abusive, and unfaithful, and the girl who had once made millions of people smile now lived in constant fear. It was his last bitter attempt to exact revenge on the woman who had left him, but truth always wins out. Ronald Reagan, a former co-worker and longtime admirer, defended Shirley Temple, calling her a woman of great courage and the highest moral integrity. Agar's accusations quickly fell apart as Shirley continued to move forward, head held high, unbroken, and unafraid. Despite all the heartache, fate gave her another chance, and in 1950, at the age of 22, when her film career had waned, she met Charles Black, a businessman and former Navy officer. The couple married 12 days later, and their marriage lasted for 55 years quietly, without scandal, and filled with love and respect. The scars from her Hollywood past never fully healed, though, as Shirley said when Charles died that he was the only man who ever made her feel truly safe. In her memoir, Child Star, Shirley recounted a terrifying incident when she was just 10 years old, when she was singing Silent Night Live on CBS when a woman in the audience pulled out a gun and pointed it directly at her. The woman thought Temple had stolen the soul of her own daughter, a child who had died on Shirley's birthday. Fortunately, the gun didn't fire and she survived, but the fear of that moment stayed with her forever. In contrast to many of her fellow child stars, Shirley Temple decided to leave Hollywood and focus on public service. From the young girl who sang on the good ship Lollipop to the U.S. diplomat serving abroad, Temple's life continued to test her strength. At the age of 44, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, becoming one of the first Hollywood celebrities to publicly discuss the disease and encourage women worldwide to get regular checkups. By being honest and courageous, she turned fear into power, defeated the disease, and lived to be 85 years old. A long, fulfilling, if never easy, life. Even the strongest people carry their own private burdens. Shirley Temple remains an enduring symbol of grace and grit. The little girl who made America smile through its darkest days, and the woman who taught the world how to rise after being broken. Her life was like a film without a script, beginning in wonder, descending into darkness, and ending in light. When she passed away in 2014, it was revealed that she had secretly smoked all her life, but had kept it hidden out of fear that children might imitate her. Her death from lung disease became her final reminder to the world. Not only was she the greatest child star of all time, but she was also living proof that sometimes the smallest flame can light up the entire globe. They recall the fearless heart that endured the shadows of Hollywood.